Going live. Going live just in time to clean my glasses. Just in time to clean my glasses. That's a good reminder. So that I can see something here.
Welcome aboard, everyone. Kim's just giving her glasses a quick clean, and then we're ready to partay.
Yep, that's us.
As soon as we can see you. Oh, wait, we can't.
Well, I can't see anybody at this point. Can't even see you. All right, get my glasses on here. Welcome to the virtual studio party for Saturday, May 16th. I think it's the 16th, isn't it?
It is indeed.
And I'm Kim Lee Coe. And Kal Honey is over there helping out with the chat. And yes, when you arrive, if you can say hi, that would be really nice. And where are you saying hi from? And are you have you brought some art supplies or some other little project, or are you just gonna hang out and chill out? Looks like
Doria or Doria.
Oh, that's Tinley. Hi, Tinley. How are you? So glad you could make it this time. The stars were in alignment.
She says, I'm good. Hello, I'm good.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. And hey, creative time is good time, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So good to see you here live and everything. So we could chat. You can do, I know you're working on some collages. You're always extraordinary collages. So I hope they're going well. And am I right in thinking you have an outside studio, not just a home studio? Something you posted recently, I inferred that. So I have I'm going to be working on my
have an outside studio.
Ah, great. Well, that's pretty exciting. Our whole house is basically studio and art storage. We've carved out little pockets of space for sleeping and making food and doing our ablutions and so on. But yeah, it's pretty hardcore here. But I do have a nice whiteboard right now. Wow. I cleaned it off, photographed what was on it. Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
It's white. Got some magnets and clips ready for putting new stuff on.
She says, that sounds awesome. I'd like your kind of studio as well.
I think in an ideal world, you kind of have both, right? Either that, or you have a really enormous studio that's really near where you live. And you live in a nice little place that's small and you don't have to do much work to keep it up.
Yeah, Kim and I dream of like the 300 square foot tidy place where we basically sleep.
Studio apartment, basically.
Yeah. And then the airplane hangar as a studio.
Yeah. Serious hardcore space for a studio. So, but not yet.
All in good time.
Yeah, well.
Good time is soon.
Anytime now, really, universe. Like, I'm ready. Anytime.
Yeah, do you want to back up your camera a little bit?
Yeah, I should back up my camera so that everyone can see what I'm up to. And I see there are more people have joined us. And welcome to all of you as well. And if you're able to, you tilt the screen back so my head isn't quite so cut off. Just a touch more. There we go. That's pretty good. Yeah, if you're able to say hi, please do. Would love to know that you're here and where you're here from and what you're up to. And also how everybody's doing with, I noticed where this is virtual studio party number 10. And I started, I think, 2 weeks after lockdown happened or isolation happened. So we've been at this a long time. It's kind of shocking. I know I have found ways to adapt, which is good because I feel like I'm in a healthier place than I was a few weeks ago, and that's a good thing. But it's always good to check in with yourself, I think, to see if you're looking after yourself, because it's very the constant underlying low-grade stress is demanding and tiring, and uses up some of your bandwidth, your emotional bandwidth, your mental bandwidth, your physical bandwidth. So I hope you're all looking after yourselves and each other. Kal and I are doing our best. We're busy. We're fortunate in that we're busy with events like this and with some courses. And once in a while, I do things like bake a loaf of bread, which I actually have to do. I know it's like a huge right now. People are making sourdough cultures and baking one. There's only one. I have a lot of food allergies and intolerances, and there's only one loaf of bread that I've been able to buy easily, commercially, in, I'm in Brampton, so we're in the Northwest GTA, and it's been basically unavailable during the whole lockdown. So fortunately, we had some in the freezer, but I have to now every Sunday bake myself some bread so that I make sure I have some. Because I can't have yeast and I can't have most grains. So, that makes it tough to have bread. And bread is an incredibly useful food. I know that there are people who are on ketogenic diets and Paleolithic diets, so they won't be eating bread. But honestly, it's just such a useful, versatile food and satisfying. Yeah. So
it's hard to beat as a substrate, like with you're just
to put under
you
stuff,
want a snack or a meal, and just throw something on it,
exactly.
And it's easy, right?
Whether it's in the form of a cracker or a bread. Yeah. The on the plus side, the soda bread I make myself is less harsh than the Dimfelmeyer. It's basically like a heavy, dark German pumpernickel, but it's made with sourdough and spelt flour and wild rice, whole grains of wild rice. And it, I've acquired a taste for it, and I am very grateful for it, but it's nice to have the break. Anyway, I've gone on and on about bread. Has anyone else said hi? It's just Tinley so far.
Just Tinley so far.
Okay. Everybody else is watching. Yeah. Everyone else is bashful. That's fine.
She says yum.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It has a beautiful flavor, actually. I really love it. So it's one of those breads where it's satisfying to have a piece of bread and butter, and then that's it. I can't have butter. I should qualify
vegan
that.
Margarine.
I call it bread and butter. It's vegan margarine. So
what are you up to today, Kim?
I've got my altered book. I've got my second altered book that I started here last week, the small book. Where did I put the encyclopedia? There it is. So, I've spent several weeks working on this encyclopedia supplement. I'm putting that aside for now because I've got a bunch of ideas going for this little book. And just to recap, I'm saving the covers for last because I think I need to see the book, know what it is before I get to the covers. And I've also saved the introductory pages for later because I just sort of want to dive into the meat, the guts of the book. And so this is what I started last week to recap for those of you who weren't here. You can see how this page is gessoed, whereas this isn't. So the text is stronger through this one. I'm working with inks. And similarly, this is gessoed, this is not. This, I think I used water-soluble graphite. This one, this page I just completed yesterday, actually, and it has a resist. Hold it up closer, and it's also water-soluble graphite for the grays and the mark making. And that was a bit of an odyssey because this is super absorbent paper. It's has the texture of like a sketchbook paper with tooth to it, just a little bit of tooth. And it's ultra absorbent. Honestly, I think it could be a paper towel. It could hold about 5 times its volume in water. Because I used acrylic medium as the resist, and I kept applying it and just sucked it right up. So there wasn't going to be, as far as I could tell, there was going to be virtually no resist happening as a result of my applications. So I had to resort to gel to get this to actually sit on top of, at least part of it, to sit on top of the paper, not just go right in. And so it worked, which was fortunate.
So Mia says hi.
Hi, Mia.
And she didn't catch the name of the bread, and I've just said you were making soda bread at home.
Yeah, Irish soda bread with spelt flour.
And Marie Payne says, hi, you too, working on a 13th birthday card for my grandson while listening and watching today. Oh,
that's nice. It's so nice to make personal cards, isn't it? I keep meaning to. Because I think how appropriate it would be for me to do that. And I so rarely get to it. With the exception of my COVID Mother's Day card for my mother, which was a bit of a fun thing.
It was.
So actually, just before I finish reviewing that, I made some masks and stencils, and I made a COVID virus mask and stencil. This one you can see because I've applied paint over it. I've used it as a mask. The other ones are totally transparent, so you can't really see it. See them? If I show them to you.
What is T, Georgia?
Tinley.
Tinley says, haha, that's awesome.
I like me a bit of biology. I never studied biology, funnily enough. I have a cousin who I think he was 1 credit shy of a biology undergraduate degree. And he just knew he totally didn't want to be in that anymore. And so he left that close and went into engineering school. And as far as I can tell, he's a very happy engineer. So it was a good decision.
Stella Dunn says, hello from Los Angeles.
Hi, Stella. Welcome. Is this your first? I know I haven't seen you in the chat before, or at least I think not. So this is your first time coming to my virtual studio party. I hope you're doing well there. We have nice spring weather here, but I'm thinking you've probably got some awesome weather there. I'm just reviewing the book, and I'll show you the next spread. So this is, I think, the last spread I did last week. And this page is gessoed, and this page is not gessoed, sort of in keeping with the pattern that I was establishing. And you'll notice that there's one deviant X there.
Stella says, yes, first time with you. It's a beautiful day.
Oh, well, thank you for coming, and I'm glad to hear it. My mother used to live in Los Angeles, And
not far from the La Brea Tar Pits.
That's right. Really, we walk through the La Brea Tar Pits park or whatever on our way to museums and so on. And another friend who used to live in one of the suburbs of Los Angeles, I think it was, for quite a few years. My mother worked at the University of Southern California.
Does Los Angeles have suburbs?
It's like all of Southern California is basically a suburb, isn't it?
Yeah.
Until you get down to, I don't know, San Diego.
Or way into the mountains.
Yeah. So anyway, I've glued together a couple of pages because I didn't do that with these previous ones. And, what I'm doing isn't super challenging to the paper in terms of the surface treatment, but and I don't mind wavy pages, but I thought, if I give them the pages a little more substance, there'll be less show through. So for example, there's this page right here. And when you look, turn it, let me see if I can get the angle so you can actually see what I see. There. You see how you can see the ink through it, and it's sort of bumpy with the ink. So I just thought I would reduce that effect by gluing pages together now, just a pair at a time. I don't have to glue them together. Well, I should probably pre-glue them, but I'm not going to because I'm not that organized. Although I could use a dry method. So this pair I glued together using acrylic polymer medium. And I could do this next pair with some glue stick. And yes, Cal's a collage artist, among other things. And he swears by the Yoo-hoo glue sticks, and I agree with him. I used to be a little dubious, but I'm not anymore. There is a difference. It's just like paints. There is a difference between artist quality and professional quality, although not all brands' so-called professional quality is necessarily what it ought to be.
And some student grade is surprisingly good.
Yeah, I use a lot of Liquitex Basics, which is student grade, but it has limitations, but I find it's actually quite useful.
Still can't remember
Tinley.
Tinley says never used Yoo-hoos. She's going to give them a try. And Tango says, Kim Lee, love the flip through. It transitions nicely into this afternoon surprise.
I've got some things planned. Yeah.
Mia says, hard to get Yoo-hoo sticks in Ontario. Everyone is collaging.
That's funny. I had no idea.
Yeah, me
wow. I guess we should have bought the huge box.
Oh my god! I hope I can still get it.
I sure hope so.
Staples, because we don't have that many.
Yeah, and it's my fault that we don't have that many because I said no, we don't need the 12-pack. We're not out teaching. What a nutball! Yeah, if I could take those words back, I would. Because of course, we probably have never gone through Yoo-hoo glue sticks at such a great rate because of course I'm using tons of it, and I'm the one who said oh no, we won't need it. I don't know. Oh well, if we all had crystal balls, right, how different our lives would be, or some of them anyway. Okay, I've got both surfaces covered, and now I'm going to take this applicator and smooth it out, burnish it in more than one direction, and make sure those edges and corners are well burnished. And now I've got a really nice, neat, tidy, flat, going together pair of pages. This one is slightly less, it's quite good. It has a little bit of creasing here because of the expansion from the acrylic medium I used to glue this pair of pages together, but it's all good. It's all going to be great. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? I have something I prepared to work with, and that is this shape that I cut out of another book. I was teaching my altered books course yesterday, the first class of the session, and I was demonstrating how to remove pages from a book with sewn-in binding. And so I used some of that to cut this shape out, because I've been really thinking about shape a lot, and I was talking about shape in a couple of other classes. So yeah, it seems to be very much on the brain. And of course, there's this wonderful negative as well, which has all the text. And so I'm definitely going to use those. There can be an interesting effect just very simply laying one different text page on another that's in the shape. And notice that I also have the text upside down on the shape compared to the page. But I want to do something more than that because I want a little more presence for this shape. If there's too little contrast between the shape and what it's on, and you can play a delicate game with that, you don't feel the shape. And I really want to feel the shape because that's the thing I'm thinking about. So yeah, I know what I'm going to do. Okay, good. It's always good to have a plan, isn't it? Let's reach my brush. There's a brush. Okay. This is some India ink. Just before I pour anything on top of it, I'm going to see if you can see this. I love things like this. It's the cracking in the old, the cracking pattern. Isn't that just... Now, for those of you who know me, you know that I'm obsessed with veins and arteries and tree branches and so on. And that's nature has methods of organization like branching patterns that are in common in many different settings, like rivers, trees, veins and arteries, etc. The cracking designs.
Finlay says, it looks like my skin from washing my hands too much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you're there on the front line. Thank you, Tinley. That makes me extra glad that you made it to the party, because I feel like people who are working that hard in that context needs to have something to relieve the pressure and stress and strain and the sheer hard work. So
is she in
physiotherapy, isn't that right, Tinley? But in a hospital setting.
Okay, right,
yeah.
Right. Wow, yeah.
Not in a private clinic or whatever.
Right.
So she's, helping people, because
yes, physio,
people,
she says.
Yeah, people coming off ventilators and stuff, before they can go home, they need some therapy. So
he says, that's what art does for me. Thanks for hosting.
Aw. So I'm just gonna put this protector in here before I paint. I'm gonna cover this whole page in black ink. And I'm going to protect the facing page because I haven't decided what I'm doing with the facing page yet. So I'm not going to make it too messy. I'll shift the position of this so you can see that better. What was the name of the lady who's from LA?
Stella.
Stella. So Stella, are you working on something on some project while at the party, or did you stumble upon it and you're just hanging out, watching, relaxing?
Sometimes people just grab a drink and a snack and hang out with us and chat. Sometimes they away on something. So
yeah,
all is good. Whatever.
Everyone is welcome. You don't have to
Exactly.
be an artist to enjoy this necessarily, and but you can be.
Yeah. Whatever
And that's
suits you. Yeah.
That's why I share information about what I'm using and so on, because I know people always ask anyway, so I just share it. Okay, almost done. Trying to be extra careful near the binding. The other thing I'll have to be careful about is not letting this page flop onto the wet ink page. I'm going to take one of my handy dandy clips and clamp it in place. Fortunately, it doesn't take very long for the, it's already dry in this corner here. So that's good. And I'm going to take my little fan and just give it a helping hand. I love the fact that the fan is not noisy like a blow dryer. And I can turn up the airflow if I want, but this will be fine. So one of the things I like about India ink is the fact that because it has shellac in it, it has a finish to it. There's a bit of a sheen to it. It's that shellac that cracked in the my little palette dish. It gave it that beautiful cracking as it dried. And when I've got this dry, I'll give you a close-up on it before I do anything else, so you can see.
Stella says, I am an art therapist and I love working with altered books.
Oh, wonderful. I was doing research for my altered book course, which is intended as altered books as art, not therapy per se, although obviously people work through whatever they work through, just not in a therapeutic setting. And it discovered how useful a tool it is, which seems obvious now that I've read that, but I hadn't considered it in that light. There's so much potential. And interestingly, one of my students, who in her native country was a medical doctor, when she came to Canada, she decided she didn't want to go through the rigmarole to requalify here. So she instead studied art therapy and worked as an art therapist. She's a tremendous artist. There we go. Okay. I'll take this off. Nice thing about this plastic is I'll be able to wash that off. It's the right kind of plastic. But look, see that sheen? There we go. Isn't that nice? And it has that sheen, even though this is super absorbent paper. There we go. Now you can really see it. So it's not like high gloss. It's not like a car finish or something, but it's, I'm trying to think what it's similar to.
Wait a minute, it's going to dry and it won't look the same.
You know what it makes me think? No, it's dry here.
Oh, okay.
That sheen is dry. And it's super absorbent paper. So normally that would cut the sheen a lot, if not entirely, as it did with the medium that I was trying to put into that previous page earlier. It makes me think about a pomegranate skin, actually.
Wow.
That has a nice sheen to it without being a lacquer, you know? So
Mia says she's just hanging out with you, getting inspired. Love watching Kim Lee create.
Aw, Thanks, Mia. It's so nice to have you here.
Trinley says, I think I need to start making little collage books. You're giving me lots of ideas.
Oh, little collage books. Definitely. I want to see that. Her name is spelled Trinley, but it's actually pronounced Tinley.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly. I know it's something like that. I'm hoping I'm remembering, but correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Actually, that's even dry.
He says that is correct.
Oh, good. I remembered. Whew. All right. So so the page is sort of damp. It's cool and damp, but the surface is dry. So now I can deal with what's on this side. So I'm just going to clamp this out of the way so that I can work on this side. And I think this side needs to have some gesso. And I'm going to grab a brush. I'm going to need a paper towel. That's good. My other little palette dish. Oh, and I didn't put any. I always do this. Well, virtually always. I use barrier cream for my hands instead of gloves. And usually I have a nice big blob of cadmium red or something on my hands before I've actually managed to put the cream on. But today they are unscathed, although I have been working with something that could have made a mess of my hands. All right. So I'm going to lay some gesso down on this to prepare the surface a little bit. We'll still be able to see the text, but it won't be as strong. So that's one of my objectives. Another of my objectives is I think I'm going to lay a color down, and I want the color to be truer to itself than it would be if I just applied it to this off-white absorbent paper book with black type on it. It would darken and I'm in a way that I don't think I want this time. Let's get one of these.
So I asked her where it originates from, and she says it's a Tibetan name.
Really? Wow. That's fascinating. And my name is a Chinese name.
Which the Tibetans will do their best not to hold against you.
Yes. Well, I'm not responsible for the actions of Chinese government. My family is so many generations removed from China.
She says LMAO.
Yeah. The Chinese side of my family, because clearly I'm not 100% Chinese, right?
She says she's not even Tibetan.
Yeah. I was thinking it might be something you adopted. Would that be fair to say? I have friends who've gone through some life change or other, an important, obviously very important life change, and chose to change their name. But yeah, I never really thought about that. I've actually been very keen not to change my name. I've been married twice and not changed my name because it has a balance and symmetry that I like my name. So
it justifies very nicely.
Typographically speaking. Yeah. Okay. Now, got some gesso on there. Got my little fan.
You even have where you have a big wide M, you have an I to compensate.
Yes, I do. So, in our back garden, there's all kinds of stuff flowering, even though we're terrible we're non-gardeners, okay? We have planted some things we inherited, and we mostly neglect. But one of the things we inherited in our back garden was some trilliums, which are, for those of you not in Ontario, the provincial flower of Ontario. And so it's actually illegal to pick them or move them or whatever. So fortunately, we inherited them. You can buy them from special providers and so on, but they're probably expensive. In part, they would be expensive because they don't like being moved. They don't take well. So I imagine the success rate is not great in terms of transplanting them.
So Tingley says, no, I became a Buddhist in my mid-20s. Name was given to me when I took the refuge ceremony. And take it as my legal. I was about 30.
Wow. That's amazing.
Gwen Tooth says, hi, Kim and Cal, here after doing some kitty business with Smarties and a glass of milk.
That sounds so great, Gwen. I love it. Well, thanks for coming. It's always nice to have you here. I've just covered a page. I glued a pair of pages together, and I've covered one page with India ink, just to recap, and I've just put some gesso on this one. So I'm going to give it, I'll put the fan on it for just another little bit. Yeah, I remember my friend who lived in Los Angeles, when we visited her when she was in San Diego, and she had a backyard that had a slope, and the whole slope up was covered in cacti and succulents. And I remember she used to rave about the cactus bloom in the desert in the springtime. And I had never seen it. You know, I knew cacti bloomed. And then we took a year off and traveled to North America in a camper van, not all year, but for several months. And spent a glorious time at Joshua Tree National Park. This would have been in 2010. And all the Joshua trees were in bloom with these massive white blossoms, and all these other things were blooming as well. And then we had a big snowfall. And so it was incredible. I have to dig out the pictures because there's something amazing about seeing cacti and Joshua trees in bloom with snow on them. It was just extraordinary. So glad we did that. Would have been nice if we could have spent like a month at Joshua Tree National Park, don't you think?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Beautiful, wide open spaces, and yeah. We really love the West, and the American Southwest is just to die for.
Yeah,
New Mexico. Oh.
That
Gila National Forest.
Oh,
we could have stayed there for. We didn't give ourselves enough time. My God, we should have. I keep making that mistake because I did a solo trip around North America, tent camping that time. When we went together, we were in a camper van, and I didn't give myself nearly enough time. Okay, so now that I've got this, and it's sort of, I can touch it, it's safe to do that. And you see my page is curling nicely. So when I apply something to this side, that will help balance it out, but it won't be totally flat. But I think this is what I'm going to, if I can ever find my shape again, I'm going to apply my shape to. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Let me try it. And I'll try both. I'll try the positive and the negative.
You're testing positive? I hope not.
That's just not a good phrase right now. So there's that. Although it'll be like this, I guess. No, it'll be like that. Yeah, sorry. I've got everything backwards. Yeah, I don't want them on the same spread. No.
That looks pretty great, right?
I'll just see what the negative looks like there. It's harder to see because the little no. My art director over here.
Your book, obviously.
Yeah. But at least I'm getting an honest response. Yeah. Bless him. You know.
Well, I do like.
No, I actually agree with you. I just needed an extra moment to realize that. So that's good. So I'm going to apply this to the black page, and I'm going to use acrylic medium for it. And I just need to choose a brush. Right,
Tinley asks, I've never used India ink. Can you use marker over top of it?
You can use paint markers over top of it. I wouldn't use, you know, transparent ink felt pens or watercolor pens, but you could totally use like Posca pens and Molotov paint markers, and there are lots of different brands of paint markers now, and that's what I would use.
Anything that has sort of an opaque element.
It's got to have some opacity to it. Otherwise, it'll just add on to the black, so it'll be very hard to see.
She says, thank you. Tango says, love that template. Is it homemade?
Yes. Yes, I cut it out. I did that thing of folding the page in half, and then I improvised the cutout with my scissors. It would have been, I could have been more precise with a good sharp knife, but I thought there's some, you know, there's value in the adventure, right? Of trying to get something to work that's maybe not so simple. And I'm usually game for artistic adventures. You could say that's a hallmark of mine. Okay, so I'm just sort of positioning, and what I'm going to do is get a little pencil. Give myself a little reference mark. That's not going to work very well, that pencil. I need something softer. Oh, I know where I have something softer.
Mia says, very original. Love it.
I realized it ended up looking kind of related to a damask, traditional damask design. But what I had in mind was sort of organic, a combination of plant life and bug. It doesn't matter if it comes across at all. It just, you know, you need something to work from. So that's what I was working from. So the first thing I'm going to do is apply some medium to the shape. Here's the brush I'm going to use. And I'm specifically putting it on some plastic that I know I'll be able to remove it from, because I need to be able to brush beyond the piece of paper. Otherwise, I won't get to the edges. And it's very important that the medium really cover especially the edges and all the little bits that stick out, you know? One of the nice things is the brushing it on the plastic is flattening out the piece of paper.
Oh, right, the sort of central,
Because
the
it's,
fold mark.
yeah. And it's also not turning wobbly, right?
Yeah, yeah, because it's supported.
Yeah.
And
It's
sort of stuck
supported
down
and
too, right?
sealed in,
Yeah.
basically. Still wet, but sealed.
The transfer will, like the process of moving it over, will be
Yeah.
a bit of a
But I
challenge.
don't have to deal with that just yet. And of course, it's busy absorbing because, like I said, these could be paper towels, these pages. But what I'll do, having put that coat on, I'm going to come to this page, which is much less absorbent because it has the India ink there. And the medium is going to appear in places where the shape will have cutouts, but that's unavoidable because, again, I have to have full coverage or the shape will not stick well. So I'll just do a rectangle that's more or less aligned with the upper and lower limits and side limits of the shape.
Maybe I could just remind people of what the medium of ink is.
So India ink
Yeah.
is a combination of pure carbon. And if you think of charcoal is pure carbon. And shellac, which is made from bugs. From the shells, I think, of the bugs. Of a particular beetle. I'm blanking on what the beetle is.
It's not the same as cochineal, right? It's a different one.
I'm not positive.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind looking it up, that'd be great. It's an ancient. It's useful as a sealer, as a lacquer, as a binder for pigment, because pure carbon is pigment, a form of pigment. Charcoal is a kind of pigment. And yeah, I could be wrong, but the ancient Egyptians may have had shellac.
So Gwen says, I asked her what she was doing, and she says she's percolating ideas, imagining a larger book of old maps like the ones I gave away years ago from my father's teaching days. And I asked her if she had any left. She says, I love all my books too much and haven't found one that I like enough to alter. Would love to when I decide.
Yeah.
And Marcia Maxwell has joined us. She
Hi,
says,
Marcia.
Hi, Ken and Cal. I just got back from playing golf. It was so exciting.
Wow. I bet.
I noticed that some of the golf courses were opening up. There are going to be a lot of happy golfers, eh, Marcia?
And were people good about social distancing or, keeping safe distance, I hope.
Golf is one of the few sports in which that's even a possibility.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm happy for you because that must be so great psychologically. I'm not a golfer. My grandfather was a very keen golfer. His golfing partner, my grandmother used to refer to her as herself as a golf widow. And my grandfather's golfing partner was the amateur champion of Canada or something. So he was hardcore, hence the golfing widow. And I have cousins who are very keen on golf. One cousin had to give up basketball because of his knees. He was very, he did a lot of recreational basketball. And then, his knees gave up. So he took up golf. So now I think the past 2 houses he's lived in all are on golf courses. But of course, they belong to other golf courses. And they take vacations to other golf courses. So,
Marcia says, for sure, it went much better than I thought it would.
oh, good. That's great.
And Gwen says, I'm imagining something like that of Anselm Kiefer, but maybe not quite so large.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love Anselm Kiefer.
And I have put a little background from Wikipedia on shellac in the comments, but I will read it. Shellac is also known as confectioner's glaze and is made from a resin excreted by the female lac beetle, indigenous to India and Thailand. The resin is produced into flakes, processed into flakes, dissolved in denatured alcohol to make liquid shellac, then sprayed on food products or used to make lacquer for hardwood floors and furniture.
Yeah, so it's a pretty environmentally preferable kind of thing.
As long as they don't run out of lac beetles.
Yeah, need to keep those well fed. Yeah, you can buy shellac flakes from Lee Valley Tools, as I recall. I'm sure there are other places too, but it's so much fun to shop at Lee Valley Tools. Why not buy it there
yes,
if you can?
Any excuse, right?
Yeah.
I guess they might be closed, though. I wonder if they're letting people in short.
I think you can pick up.
Right.
You know, you can do express order pickup, and so it's like curbside pickup. So there is my shape. It's going to look less dark as it dries. It's wet now, obviously. So, yeah. Looks kind of rich. I'm quite liking that effect. Oh, I see it's not quite flat here. I've got to fix that. It's the problem if the paper is really absorbent. It can keep absorbing and cause the glue bond to starve, as it just keeps going into the paper and then sucking it away from the join of one surface to the other. So, yeah. So I'll just have to watch that. Okay. I don't know. I might even want to leave this gessoed page as it is. You know, well, it looks so glary when I hold it up. There. Or there. You can see some text through the white. It's not glary like that. So there is a relationship. So that's good. So I'll just get the fan on it and see what I'm going to do with the next one.
Mia says, I'm completely golf challenged. The sport eludes me. Although I love walking and will walk along with happy golfers, I fear getting hit by one of their deadly balls.
Yeah. Wear a helmet. Let them laugh.
It's only a non-contact sport until it is.
Yeah, exactly. I used to, when I was growing up, I used to love going to the driving range and just hitting those balls as well and as hard as I could. That's the extent of my. I'd do it again. It was fun, buying buckets of balls, and I'm terrible though at seeing the balls, and when they're up in the air, and I'd be worse now because I have so many floaters in my eyes now. As soon as I look up at a bright sky, the floaters are going to be way bigger than any little golf ball. So I basically need a tracking device.
Mia says, love the result. Does the text show through, or did you place it text up?
On the shape?
The shape, I think.
The shape has text on both sides, actually, because it's from a book page. So definitely you see the text. And the text is upside down intentionally so that it is other than the book's text, which you can see through the white gesso. And I positioned it a little too close to the binding, but you know, I got it right vertically because I had the marks, so I was part way there. So I just want to get this set up enough that I feel like I can turn the page and work on it. I can use one of these page protectors though, so it doesn't have to be dry. And I've used a decoupage technique basically to put this on, which is you have to have glue on both surfaces that are going to be glued together, and then you seal it in on top with more of the medium. That's my preferred method for collage, although glue stick is without a doubt more convenient. In terms of being dry, and so you can get more layers on more quickly. Yeah, so that's kind of fun. So I'm going to flip this over now and get a page protector in place. That one's still wet, so I'll use this one. In fact, if I'm very clever, I will.
It says, okay, get it now. Thanks. So interesting. Thanks.
Good. All right, so I need to glue another pair of pages together. So I'll use the glue stick method again. I feel like I'm feeling a need for drama today. So not interpersonal drama, but artistic drama. Yeah, are you feeling gypped that I don't want interpersonal drama?
Well, not I don't want interpersonal drama either, but I could jump around a little bit if you want. that just may be comedic rather than dramatic.
Yeah, probably. I'll fold this over so I can put it on here.
Oh, I missed a comment from Gwen. She said, we've had several purges and I've regretted most of what I've had to leave. Maybe I will get lucky and find something. When I find it, I will know.
You'll glom onto it and make it a project. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Gwen.
Yeah. I sympathize. Poor Cal has to live with me, though. So purging is coming. I thought I would have done a lot of purging by now, but we have, as I mentioned earlier, I think, been in the fortunate position of actually being very busy with our various kinds of work in these times, including, you know, free open events like this and paid courses. So, yeah, so I've done very little purging. You know, I haven't learned another language. I haven't picked up guitar. There's so much that I haven't done. Oh boy, this absorbent paper, man, it's going to be the death of me. Well, we'll do the best that we can, right?
Yeah.
All right. So now that I'm here, I have an idea for this. This is glued. I need a page protector. Should I use this one?
Tinway says, I'm trying to learn German and I sound like a 2-year-old when I speak it.
Yeah. That's, I always have so much sympathy for immigrants to Canada who are struggling with English, doing remarkably well, truth be told, compared to my ability with any other language. But people treat them, differently, not necessarily with extra kindness with their struggles. And depending on the level you're at, unless you're actually fluent, it lowers your current IQ, your perceived IQ. And that would be so frustrating. Someone could be a literature professor and professional poet in their home country. And here, okay, I'm going for red on this page. I had thought I was going to do red on the previous page, I think, but I liked the way the white looked so much that I'm going to put red on it. Now, I didn't put gesso on this page first, and that was supposed to be why I was putting red on the other one. And it was really smart to put gesso on that one if I was going to put red on it, because as I keep saying, this paper is incredibly absorbent. So I put on the brightest, glossiest lacquer red, and I'll show it absorbs down to something much duller. So I do have a solution for that, but first I'm going to get a consistent coat on here. I'm not going to, I could literally use up my bottle trying to get it to look the way I want it to look without some form of sealing.
Anyway, says, I like that red.
Yeah, I like a nice red. Can you tell? Let's get those blank spots covered.
So I just put a link in the comments, everyone, to the just announced National Arts Drive on June 6th, which I'll be taking part in. And it's an opportunity for all artists. It's free to join. You display your work wherever you can, on your driveway, on your front lawn, on your balcony, and then and when you register, you get put on the map. And so on that day, it's a 3-hour window, I think, 4 to 7 Eastern Daylight Time, but it's national, and people can drive around and see what artists have put out. So
that's such a great idea. So it's like a studio tour, but it's not, it's not limited to one locality. It's wherever artists are and wherever people who are willing and interested in driving around to look at art are. So do check it out and spread the word even if you're not going to participate. It's a great idea.
Mia says that of the language, of the learning German, that's a very common thing with learning a new language. Bravo for doing it.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome thing to do. Plus, it's so good for our brains, isn't it? We got to look after our brains. I know I'm hanging on to the shreds I've still got left. Fiercely. So I've just, after putting the ink on, I put some medium on. And what's surprising is I should have given you a close-up look of how it looked before I put the medium on, but Cal was talking about that stuff. It was very uneven looking, very patchy looking because of the paper quality. So, but now that I've put the medium on, there are variations, but it is remarkably red. There, that's a good picture of it. So I'm quite pleased with that. I'm just going to let that set up a little bit, and then I'm going to brush a little bit more red ink on it, get a really good red. A red that'll have been made somewhat darker because of the being on an uncoated thirsty paper that isn't pure white. It's an interesting thing working into books. I'm such a book lover, and going way back to my childhood, and grew up surrounded by books, art books, travel books, cultural books, literature, nonfiction, the works. And my mother was a librarian. So then there were all the books we had that came from her library, rotating through the house. Yeah. And I have so many books. But I love them. I love cracking them open. I love turning the pages. Love the smell of them. So, doing altered books is an interesting thing to do as a book lover. But it's a good thing because, there are a lot of old books in the world. Now, some of them are really, very poor quality paperbacks. In fact, maybe the majority. And they're not good for working into. You could maybe use their covers as interesting collage items, but they're printed on lousy paper. They have terrible binding quality, and yeah, so they're not good candidates. But older books that are made more durably and or are hardcovers are really worth.
Finlay says,
working into.
The smell of books I love.
Yeah. Yeah. A bookstore. A good bookstore. You walk in. Oh, this is going to be good. So now I'm putting on the coat of ink, having put some medium in. But I'm also putting some additional medium on before I put the fresh layer of ink. It's a little tricky because I'm using the same palette for my white gesso. I had clear medium here, but it's now all got some red in it. This is what happens with one's palettes in the studio.
All right, we have a perfect question from Tinley. Have you ever worked with books with the glossier paper like textbooks?
Yes, well, in fact, my encyclopedia supplement, which I'll pull out in a minute. So it's a science supplement from 1972 for an World Book Encyclopedia. It has glossy paper, and it's great to work with. Maybe while I let this red coat dry, I'll just flip through that encyclopedia book. Not everybody who's here has seen that or has seen all of it. So there, that's got a good application now. So I'll let that dry over there with the fan. page that I don't want flopping onto it. There we go. All right. So this is the encyclopedia supplement I've been working with. And there aren't enough lifetimes to do all the things I want to do. We have a bunch of these. And honestly, I'd like to do all of them. But I realize that's unrealistic. So it has some really classic design as sort of the architecture of it. 1970s was a good time for design. I started off with the end papers and just knew I needed to get in there and mess with it. So I messed with it. Let's see it closer. It's got some paint, some gesso, some ink, maybe even some graphite. And that, oh, and some metallic paint pen too. Anyway, that just got me going, right? And I won't show you every page, but I'll show you a few. So this just had a black and white photograph portrait, I guess, of the editor, and in Washington. And I applied a couple of image transfers, and I used paint pen. And closer, can you see that?
Kinley says, "That's awesome, Kim. I love it."
And so you have to see it upside down because there's the reflection of is that the Congress building? And so I made a reflection of the portrait as well, in a sense, anyway. Some things were more minimalist, like this. That's an image transfer of traditional manicule that you'll see in older print materials, and I just messed with the type. That colored ground was already there. That's part of the design. And this is a image transfer with drawing on it, and I've got some metallic paint pen that I've drawn on with.
Mia says, "Incredible. Do you sign each page?"
No, just the book. This has a torn page glued onto a page that has holes punched out of it. So you're seeing peekaboos to illustration on the next page, plus drawing and some collage. I quite like perforation or cutting holes or windows out. There's a sort of bold graphic one, but with spots of color development in the content of the photography. This was one I did over a couple of sessions at the virtual studio party, working into the photography and then adding my own drawing of the bison to connect up the two pages more visually.
Kinley says, "I'm inspired. I'm going to sort through my old textbooks today. Might as well put them to use."
Well, exactly. And you've probably got fantastic diagrams or photography or something, illustrations, and you can use them and you can cut them out and put them other places and mess with them. It's really great. Sometimes I just do something really bold like this. I used a piece of snow fencing to stencil through. And yeah, I don't know if I'll do more on this, but it's a good start, and it might be close to the end of what I do with that spread. This was also a whole session at the virtual studio party not that long ago. So this is the sort of the previous spread, but this is the spread I was working on. So first I cut those holes out that you can see and outlined them, and I stencil painted into it and so on. So yeah.
Mia said of the earlier spread, the Bison God. And Tinley says, so many anatomy books.
Oh, I'm so jealous, Tinley. You know I'm so jealous. I don't know if you could scan in the odd heart for me.
And Mia says, the fence looks like it was always there.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh? It does look like it belongs. I mean, it's the orange of the volcano is brought out into that. And the connecting up connection is disruption and connection are two really powerful things when you're doing creative work.
Tinley says, of course, I can scan for you.
Well, you know, I love me some hearts. So, you know, if there are 2 or 3 good hearts, I'd be so grateful.
You guys could do like a trade. You might have some stuff that she doesn't have. Like
maybe
that older stuff, some vintage, like the 17th century heart.
Yeah, well, she has some amazing, like.
Oh yeah, well,
I asked her about some of the anatomical stuff she was using, and she gave me the sources, like, and it was, yeah, thank you, because sources.
She says, me too. I think about loving hearts.
There's something nice about that, isn't there? And then here I am in red. I wonder if it looks like there might be a bird nesting in our eaves trough. That's not going to end well.
No.
So I have this red page here now. It's damp, but it's, you know, I can touch it without getting anything on. So I'm thinking about my negative, seeing whether it might look nice on here. And seeing what it will look like in sequence with this. So interesting.
Gwen says, great earrings, Kim.
Oh, thank you. Now that I've got this haircut, I'm so happy because I can wear my earrings and people can occasionally see them. Not like when I had the big long mop. Yeah. Not, I hasten to add, from going to a hairdresser, but from this guy over here being willing to sit through YouTube videos that he researched to figure out how to cut my hair. Yes, I'm very lucky.
Not very close inspection, but it beats nothing.
Oh, it's fantastic. Okay, so I've got to get some glue on this thing. So I am going to do that, and then I think I'm going to put a black frame around it. So I got to think about my order. Sequence can matter, and this is one of those times when it matters. So I need a brush I can use. I'll just wash out some of this ink and reuse it for gluing. That's pretty good. Not bad. But I will need another palette. Bigger one is what I have. And I need some medium.
So Gwen said, so great for your artistic persona. Think Louise Nevelson.
Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, and I do have like monster earrings that I will wear to openings or events sometimes, that I'm quite fond of. And I have a couple of designs in mind for my own earrings of my own fashioning that I'm looking forward to making. Knowing me, what I'll do is I'll end up making them when I've got an event, and it's 2 hours till I have to be there, and I'll be busily making the earrings that I want to wear to the event. It's years of what I call deadline abuse from being graphic designer, that life was a never-ending succession of deadlines, God knows how many deadlines a week, a day sometimes. And so it's under that kind of pressure that it'll all clarify. Suddenly it'll all be like, okay, it's happening now. I know exactly what I'm doing. Here we go. Cal knows what I mean.
I do. Gwen, I found a few pictures online of Louise Nevelson portraits. And there's one where she's basically wearing a chest full of sculpture. She's got like 3 necklaces that are made up of the kind of shapes that she used.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I have to see that.
Hang on, I'll blow it up and then we just. I can't post it, but I can at least do this.
You can show it in the.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Okay, I'm totally down with that, Gwen. Okay, I need to apply some more to the paper because, of course, it's absorbed it.
Kinley says, TM is a medical publisher. If you ever come across any of them in used bookstores, scoop them up. You could put them to good use. So it's like THIEME. I'll make a note.
Okay, that's great to know. Thank you. Putting my second coat of medium on the actual cutout that I'm going to glue down. And I'll touch up the coat I put on the red page just to make sure it's all nice and wet. Go. Oh, sticking to itself, that's always the risk, isn't it?
Gwen says, I've been in a Louise Nevelson mindset lately, thinking I wish I had the space to work that large.
Yeah. Julie Mayretu is one of my heroes, and she painted, I think maybe it might have even been in California, I'm not sure. Offhand, I can't remember. The largest painting ever.
It was like inside a
church,
right?
I think.
Yeah.
And extraordinary. And, she's the woman to do it, honestly. Just that. She's so brilliant, and I don't just mean I don't want to use the word just. Not only in art, she's a brilliant mind, and applies it to art, and so she takes on these incredibly complex, enormous challenges, and that is something I admire and would wish some version of for myself, along with more intimate things like this, you know. I'm multidisciplinary and multi everything, multi-scale, because that's me. What's the biggest thing you've ever done, Gwen? One of the artists I know who came here from Pakistan is a miniaturist, and I think that's fascinating, you know. I don't want to be a miniaturist, but I really appreciate it. Yeah, a little bit of the red ink is leaching out of the brush and onto my paper. And to me, that's just another gift from the process. You know, if I were very fussy, I would have had, you know, separate brushes and separate palettes for absolutely everything I was using. And sometimes I work that precisely, but mostly I don't, because I'm very interested in artistic serendipity.
So, a few things to relay.
Great.
Kinley says, "Oh wow, that's amazing," and I think that either, I'm not sure, that's either, and also she'd been looking at Louise's sculptures, and wow.
Yeah, Louise's sculptures are amazing.
And Gwen says the largest canvas is 40 by 60 inches and 48 by 60. And Mia says she may have to rush off before the rest of you. So thank you, Kinley, and for another fantastical session.
Thanks so much for coming, Mia.
Bye, Mia. See you next time.
Just thought I'd show you. This is it wet. So you see the papers become transparent to the red that's behind it. I think, plus it has a little bit of red on the surface in a glaze form. So I think it will change as it dries, but it won't change massively. It won't become a hugely different thing. So I'm going to clip this page and dry that. And pause and have a drink.
Gwen also says, plus my black and gold pentaptic 5 canvases side by side.
And the total length of that? That reminds me of Harold Clunder, who's one of our greatest living abstract painters in Canada. The National Gallery of Canada purchased a pentaptic of his that's massive. I'm trying to think. I think the panels must have been 8 feet high. And it's 5 panels. Now they're tall and narrow, but not this narrow. 8 feet high. Narrow is whatever. So I'd love to see that live. I've only seen it in a book and at a talk he gave. He was a mentor at a residency I went to, a couple of residencies I went to. And at one of them, he gave a talk where he showed that piece.
So I said pentaptic. I didn't know that term. I thought it might have been pentatic or something, but it has a P in it.
Yeah.
She said she had to look it up to get it right for her last show.
So it's like diptych has a P in it as well.
Yeah. And she says, I think the canvases reach 30 by 40, so 150 inches wide by 40.
That's great. 150 inches. Yeah. That's I love that scale. Back in 2012, it was a banner year, and I was really just bursting out of the starting gate. Yeah, literally bursting out of the starting gate. I had a show at as the end of a mentorship at what's now the Art Gallery Burlington, where I did photo-based sculpture and large-scale photo-based self-portraiture, and yeah. And so those photos were, I don't know, 7 feet long or something. But simultaneously, because of course that's what happens, right? It's not distributed through the year. It's got to happen literally at the same time. I had 2 shows in British Columbia, simultaneous shows, because that was 2012. And I had never done huge work before, and I was dying to do it. And I was doing it on my own dime, but I knew that if I wanted other people to want my large-scale work, I had to make it and show it, because I don't care that we're in the art world. I think generally people have trouble visualizing what doesn't yet exist. You know, whether that's a curator or a artistic director or whatever. And you know, with all due respect to them, and it, of course, everybody's capacity to visualize varies. But once they can see you can do it, it's a whole different ball game. So I made a pentaptic. I didn't call it that because I didn't have that word. That was wood panels that I had custom made to angle downwards because they were being installed on a mezzanine balcony in an art center lobby, a really vaulted lobby with a wall of windows. It was really quite spectacular. It was photo digital mixed media prints mounted to these wood panels, and that was 21 feet long, 38 inches high, as I recall, and had to bolt the panels together at the back, and then secure them to the balcony. What an adventure that was! That was just fantastic. They got shown again at the first In Situ festival in the old factory space in Mississauga, which was a great setting for it, and it was up high because this tilting down makes it suitable for high locations, and the contemporary dance performance ended in front of that piece, which was very satisfying.
It was a little terrifying installing it because we had bolted them together, and then we started to lift it, and they started to go.
Yeah, we thought they were going to break. Thank God they didn't.
Well, we had to reinforce them because they wouldn't have stayed up. But,
yeah, the leverage of 21 feet of, it was, but they survived. Yeah, did a whole bunch of big stuff, and subsequently too. I quite enjoy it.
Just give you a heads up that it's 3:33.
Oh wow! I can't believe this happened last week too. I thought, oh yeah, I'm having a break. We must be like midway. I clearly have no sense of time. Oh. Yeah, didn't it? So I'm going to stay here for a few more minutes because I'm enjoying sitting and having a break with you. So, you know, please comment in the chat and contribute to what we've been talking about. Also, please feel free to ask any questions.
So, okay, I got to get caught up here.
Yep.
Gwen says, great experience. Love large scale installation, technical issues.
Love that.
Kinley says, worked so fast. Went by so fast. Gwen says, I worked on 5 canvases side by side, and yes, it was phenomenal to see them mounted because I had asked.
Yeah.
Thanks again for sharing your life and art with us all, Kim and Cal. Marie Payne says, gotta go, walk time. Enjoy watching and listening. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Great to have you here, Marie. Thanks so much.
Stella Dunn says, thank you so much. I will be back.
Oh, Stella, thanks so much. It was such a delight having you here. Hope you have a great week. And thank you, Gwen. Yeah.
Finlay says, I have a question about the dragon in the background. Is that a screen print?
This is a paper I bought in Chinatown that came with a dragon on it. In fact, I bought 2 sheets of paper. Turn it right side up. Isn't that wonderful?
We do a close-up of at least some of it.
Yeah, I'll bring some of it close. I have to turn it sideways to do a close-up, but yeah. And so that one has color, and then I have one that has black and white. And I bought these like a couple of years ago, I think. So I have a couple of projects in mind for them. And dragons are something that I have some things brewing in the back of on the back burner. Well, I work on other things that involve dragons. So in terms of the kind of print,
Finlay says, it's beautiful. I think I have something similar.
you know, it could be a block print. I know it's large. Just taking a look at it. But it could be a screen print. Except for there's metallic gold on the one that has red. The red ink has absorbed into the paper the way my ink does, which is making me think it might not be a screen print.
It's possible that the black was printed, but then the color was hand applied, both the gold and the red. You think?
Well, no, they're printed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does it? Can you see dot pattern at all? Well, no, it would be a solid red anyway. So.
No, you know what? I think you're right. So the black was pre-printed, and they painted the gold and red on. Isn't that crazy? Because that was not expensive enough for that if it had happened here.
Yeah. But
it's from Asia, so, and I'm trying to remember where it was actually from. It might have been Nepal, but it was a Chinese store that I bought it from. And I think he goes to China once or twice a year to get things. So it probably isn't even there anymore because it's probably just, you know, something that he happened to pick up while he was there. But it's lovely paper too. You know, it's has handmade paper qualities to it, with fibers in it and irregularities. So yeah, looking forward to making something out of it. I have a long list. You know, when I get that team of assistants, I'm going to be so productive. You have no idea. But until then, it's slow going because there's so much else. Yeah, handmade paper is wonderful. Years ago, Kal and I, did we do it with friends or was it just the two of us made handmade paper?
It was a long time ago.
We have some, you know, very simple equipment for making
kits,
it. Kits, a couple of different ones, but it was very satisfying. I actually just the other day said to Cal, it would be nice for us to make some this summer. What's making you laugh?
Tinway says, I hope you get your team. I'd love that. Too many ideas and not enough time. And oh man, Kim.
I need a team because the projects I do, it's insane. And I kill myself doing them. And my beloved husband is, you know, a knight in shining armor, but he has his own practice to worry about, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, yeah. I have, in the last couple of years, I have strategically just a few things, hired some bright young person to help me with this or that. And I had the summer, excuse me, the summer after my car accident, I had 2 interns, which was such a waste because I had a concussion. And so I was able to get them to do a few things that were genuinely helpful, but then I ran out of ability to keep up mentally. So we just did some art making at a certain point that, like, as a, you know, almost like a little workshop. And one thing that has happened though over the years is friends and students and colleagues who have, when I've had a big project on, like a big show with big work, volunteering to help me with different aspects, you know, painting the insides of drawers, drawing endless chain link design on fabric. Yeah, a lot of helping with big image transfers and so on. And for which I am eternally grateful. And Kal and I like to joke, it takes a village to raise a Kim. And it sure does. Oh.
Tinway says, that's awesome. So nice to have support and helpful hands.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really, they're like angels. And you know, that chain link project, I had a show coming up at the art gallery, Mississauga, that they were going to be installed in, and it was, you know, panel after panel, each panel, I don't know, 14, 15 feet high, and so it was a lot, and just covered in a chain link design, life size chain link, right? And the fabric was slippery, and you know, it was challenging stuff. So there must have been 9 or 10 people who helped with that.
I did a bunch of it too, and I actually really enjoyed it. I just put something entertaining on video and or listen to, and just
it's one of those repetitive meditative things, as long as you weren't having to fight with the slippage too much.
Yeah, it was sheer fabric, right?
Yeah.
So it was the trick was you'd lay it out on the table, but if gravity got a hold of it, it would start sliding.
Yeah, it'd slide off the table and drag you. Yeah. So it was something, but yeah. So you know, I've gotten by with a little help from my friends, right? Yeah, definitely. Wow. Well, I think this is dried now. It's damp, but it's dry to the touch. So why don't I just do, I always like to wrap up with a, let's see what the thing looks like now. Starting with the first spread.
Tinway says, that sounds like a cool project. I need to learn to take up my buddies when they offer to help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Practice saying yes. And treat them nicely. I really like having this very limited palette. Black and white can be, and gray can be fantastic on its own, but I am really pleased to have at least some red as well. So
how is that sticking now?
Not brilliantly.
Amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see it's actually peeling off.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to solve that issue of the thing not sticking.
Anyway, says it looks great, Kim.
So fun. So once I solved the problem of this not sticking, and that's no doubt because of the yeah, see the paper, it's just dry as a bone.
Wow.
I'm just gonna have to keep sealing it. I might actually coat it in gel. Remember I said I solved it with gel. Oh, somehow I didn't see that spread. Anyway, stay tuned. More to come next week. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming. Both those of you who are lively on the chat. Tinley, I'm so pleased you were able to join us at last. And
she says, good times. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And take good care, everybody. And I know in Ontario, we're starting to open up, as Marcia said earlier. She went golfing today. We're going to stay on the conservative side.
That's the only time, though. We're normally pretty liberal.
Yeah. In terms of returning to the public sphere. So these parties are awesome for us too. And so I hope you're enjoying them.
Finley says, I'm waving. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. Have a great week, everybody.
Gwen says, take good care of yourselves too.
Yeah, you too, Gwen. And we'll see you next week, I hope. And don't forget that Kal Honey, Kalhoney, he has his virtual collage jam, right?
Yep.
On Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. on his YouTube channel. So if you're up for more, we'll see you there. Okay.
And just like this one, it is recorded as well. So if you're working during the day Monday, you can catch it in the evening.
That's right. You can catch it at a different time. So bye for now, everybody.
And I'll leave the chat open for another minute or two if anyone has any last things to say. But the video is going to end now. So see ya.
Bye. Oh, I've